Hey guys, welcome back to my sewing room. So on this episode of my DIY wedding dress series, I'll be showing you guys how to drape a mermaid gown, and I'll be showing you guys how to do the bottom part of the mermaid gown as well as add the gore panels. If you guys are interested in seeing how I made this dress, go ahead and click here. So I will be starting off draping the same way I draped in my last video. I like to pin the center front first and I go all the way down. This time I'm not doing a waist seam just because I know most brides probably don't want a waistline seam. Please ignore the tag there. But anyway, I am going all the way down the center front, and then once I have that done, I'm smoothing it out into the princess seam, and then I'm going to place pins at the princess seam as well. Now I am trimming the extra off, and then I am making sure that everything's nice and smooth. Now I'm going over to the side front panel, and I'm going to go ahead and make sure the grain line is straight, and then I'm pinning that all the way down the side seam as well. Now that I have it pinned at the side seam, I'm going to start matching it. I like to start there at the princess seam at the bust line, and then I go upwards and then I go down. So I like to go ahead and pinch it, making sure I'm feeling where the princess seam is on my dress form, and then I place a pin there, and I'm making sure that it's not too tight when I'm pinching it there, because if you do that, it's going to be too tight when you go to your pattern making. And now I'm going to go ahead and trim off the extra, and I'm just making sure that that's perfect. Now, next thing I'm going to do is draw in the neckline. You can make your neckline as deep as you want to. I'm just doing a regular kind of sweetheart neckline here, and I like to get do that edge there at mine, but you can go ahead and make yours more rounded if you want to. And then I'm going to go ahead and trim off the extra. Every time you trim off the extra there at the sweetheart neckline, you're always going to have to pinch in more fabric. I'm not sure why. I mean, I guess it just loosens up, but I always have to pinch in more fabric, and that's the same thing if you were doing flat pattern drafting too. Which reminds me, if you guys, I'm marking the bust line, the under bust, the waist, and the low hips, by the way. But if you guys are interested in seeing how I do this same process but with flat drafting, then let me know in the comments. Give me a couple hearts in the comments, and I will for sure make another video on this same process but with flat pattern drafting, because I know most of our clients are not the same size as the dress form. So let me know, guys. Now I'm on to the back. Now I'm doing the same thing I did at the front. I'm going to pin down the center back all the way down, and when I get to kind of below where the butt is, I try not to add a lot of tension there, because the bride needs to sit down and stand up. The fabric does not stretch. Usually bridal fabric doesn't stretch. And I'm going to go ahead and go towards the princess seam and pin it there. And now I'm doing my side piece, and I'm doing the same thing we did in the front. I'm matching it up at the princess seam and pinning all the way down. When I get to below the butt here at the princess seam, I am again making sure not to pin right up on that princess seam. I'm leaving a little bit of ease. I would say about a half an inch to an inch worth of ease, which we can correct if it's too much at the mock-up stage. And now I am marking all of the marking the side seam, how I want my neckline to be in the back and the center back, and I'm also marking my underbust, or my bust, underbust, waist, and low hip. We are going to use these markings as notches later on. Okay, so now we're on to the train part. Now I like to put my measuring tape at the waistline and then let the measuring tape fall to the floor naturally. Where it hits the floor, I kind of take a mental note of that, and I add 2 inches, and that's how I get my center front. Then I go to the side seam, and again I'm putting it at the waistline, and I want it to be longer than the center front, so I'm making it a little bit longer, and then again adding the 2 inches, and I think I got 50 here. And then for the front princess seam, I like to just split the difference between the 44 and the 50 that I got, and I think I put 48. Now I am here at the center back and I'm doing the train. I like to pin there at the center back and then let my measuring tape fall naturally for as long as I want it to be. I think I chose 66 here. And then I am splitting the difference between the 50 of the side seam and the 66, and I chose 60. Now I am taking everything off the dress form and I'm making sure to mark everything. I forgot to mark my back princess seam, so I'm just going to go ahead and mark that before I take the pins out. And then I'm going to take all the pins out and give it a really good press so that it's nice and flat for when we go ahead and true our pattern. Okay, we've got everything pressed out. Now I am going to go ahead and start truing. I'm only going to show you guys on one piece because it's pretty repetitive for all the other pieces. I'm taping it, making sure that it's nice and straight. I like to use my cutting mat for that. And then I'm going to go ahead and tape over a piece of tracing paper. The first thing I'm going to do is draw out all of my lines. And notice that I'm not following the line exact as it is because I need the line to be straight. And now I'm just going to go ahead and mark each of those lines for what they are, and then I'm going to smooth out the neckline with the French curve, or what's left of a French curve, and I also use that French curve for the bust curve as well. And then I'm just going to freehand the rest of it all the way down. I like to have all of my patterns standard to be 14 inches long from the waistline, and I do that standard so I know that all of my pattern pieces, no matter how the bottom of the skirt is going to be, it's always going to be 14 inches from the waistline. And now I'm drawing in my grain line, which is on the fold obviously. Now I am drawing in my seam allowance. It is 1 centimeter seam allowance. You don't need a seam allowance on the bottom because remember, we're going to extend the train. And here I'm showing you we have 45 for the center front and 48 for the side seam. Now we're going to go ahead and work on calculating how long we need to extend the pieces. So I know that we have 14 inches here because that's how we drafted it. And I know that I want this seam to be 50 inches long from the waistline. So I'm doing 50 minus 14 and I'm getting 36. So we know that when we cut this piece out, we need to extend it 36 inches from that point. Now I'm working on our gourd panel for the side seam. So I know that our side seams, both front and back, are the same. So I'm going to go ahead and put 36 on both sides. And this gourd can be as wide or as narrow as you want. It really doesn't matter. What matters is that it needs to be 36 inches. And here's a video that I use this method on. You can go ahead and watch this one after this video is over. And I'm going to go ahead and cut 2 of those. I'm not cutting it on the fold. I'm cutting 2. And then I'm also going to do the same calculations for the other side of this pattern piece. Now here we're working on our center back piece. I know that I want my train to be 66 inches from the waistline. So I'm going to go ahead and subtract that by 14 and I get 52. And I know that I need to start my gore after my zipper stops. So I'm stopping my zipper there at my low hip line, and then I'm going to draw a line 1 inch down, and that's where we're going to go ahead and start our gore. So I need the calculations for the gore, and this is the shape. So I know that from 1 inch down from the zipper stop to the bottom is 5 1/4 inches. So I'm going to go ahead and add 5 1/4 inches to 52, and I get 57 1/4 inches. That's going to be our short side of our center back gore or godet, whatever you want to call it. Now for the long side of the train, I decided I wanted it to be 80 inches long. So I went ahead and did 80 minus 14, and I got 66. And then I know that I needed to extend it up that 5 1/4 inches. So I added 5 1/4 inches and I got 71 1/4 inches. So that is the pattern for our center back gore, and that's going to go ahead and be cut all in the fold. Now this is how you cut out the pieces once you have them all drafted. This is the center back piece, and I like to go ahead and pin around the piece first. And then I'm taking my measuring tape and just extending it out, whatever the number on the bottom of the pattern piece that we marked is. And then I'm going to go ahead and put a pin where that number is as an indication of where we need to go ahead and cut from. And then I'm going to go ahead and do the same on the other side. And you can flare it out as much as you want to. It just needs to be the exact number that's on the pattern piece, and I'm going to put a pin there, and then you would just go ahead and cut around it. Thank you guys so much for watching my video. Give this video a big thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you guys in my next one.